Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and my 11-year-old just made me go to the Waffle House. I'm not complaining, but I tell you what, when he's out of school, it's like a full-time job, and I'm spending money from the time this kid rolls out of bed. It's how it works with him. When they get out of school, it's just, I forget how relaxing it is with them in school, you know? All right, let's watch a little bit of this Jim Rickards clip. Check it out. Folks, there's so much going on right now. It is unbelievable.
The West. So they're building their whole network financially, structurally, and in terms of physical infrastructure. And it's been going on for a long time. It's not as if the BRICS are making some headlines lately. But it's not as if they just woke up last year and said, oh, let's do something significant in the monetary system. They've been working on this for over 15 years. The big news, and of course this involves UAE and Dubai, is they added 6 members at the summit in South Africa in August. I think the formal accession process will take place January 1st, but 6 new countries.
Okay, so on January 1st, that's going to happen. They're expecting a Bitcoin ETF by January 10th. And there's one other thing in DAIXRP.com that we just found out today. There's a third thing that's going to happen in January.
They're Argentina, Egypt, Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Ethiopia. So I'm now calling it the BRICS 11. They haven't called themselves that. I mean, we have the G20 and the G7, et cetera. So the BRICS 11 seems like a good working title, particularly because they have a waiting list of 18 nations wanting to join. And I've listed them all here. I don't have to go through the whole list, but kind of highlight Bahrain, Mexico, Nigeria, a huge country, 90 million people, et cetera. Turkey, again, another very important economy. Venezuela, a big oil producer. So the waiting list could take the membership up to 25 to 30, not all at once, but in a period of years in the relatively near future. Not the waiting list, but just the BRICS 11, including UAE. It has 6 of the 10 largest oil producers in the world: Russia, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, China, Iran, and UAE. It has 4 of the 7 largest countries in terms of landmass, 30% of the Earth's dry surface, 50% of world grain production, 15% of the world's gold reserves. And I think it's important to realize that BRICS 11 is possibly the new OPEC. We all know that Russia was never a member of OPEC. Saudi Arabia and Russia obviously cooperate on oil pricing. Russia was never a member, but here we have a new group, the BRICS 11, that includes Russia, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Iran, and Brazil, all of which are major oil producers. So it may be that over time BRICS becomes the meeting place, if you will, for oil pricing rather than OPEC. We'll see. And of course, China, India, Brazil, Russia, and Saudi Arabia have a combined GDP of $29 trillion. That's 28% of global GDP. If you use something called purchasing power parity, it's a different way to measure output. Instead of using nominal, you say, well, how much is the money actually worth in your country in terms of what it can buy? That group I just mentioned would have 54% of global GDP. And China and Russia have 2 of the 3 largest nuclear arsenals in the world. And
a lot going on. And then here's Mike Novogratz talking about the Fed's pivot and the Bitcoin deal.
Bitcoin is up, as we mentioned this morning. It's up about 14% this month alone, way up for the year. I don't know how much. The next guess probably is 80% or something. Let's get right into it with crypto and the broader markets following what the Fed said last week. Joining us is Galaxy Digital CEO Mike Novogratz. And I don't know how you'd weight all the different things, Mike, but for a while it looked like the Bitcoin price came off 25,000, started headed up based on some of the spot ETF conjecture, but this latest move, which really accelerated, had a lot more to do with what you think as an alternative to fiat, as an alternative to money printing, when the Fed said, yeah, we may go back into an easing phase again, and then it was off to the races.
Yeah, Bitcoin up 150% on the year.
150.
Asset again. For all the Bitcoin skeptics out there, a little victory lap. Listen, the Fed's pivot is really important. That press conference was as dovish as anybody expected, and the markets are behaving that way. You look at fixed income markets, equity markets, they all are now trading a Fed pivot. And is it March, January, or do they wait till the April meeting? We'll see. We'll see what their narrative is. We'll see what the inflation data is. But this is all based on inflation coming down, and it's not based on growth collapsing. And so they shifted to a more inflation focused Fed, which gives them the room to cut rates. I think crypto likes it. We're going to get this ETF before January 10th. That's kind of the drop dead date that Gensler has before he gets in trouble with Grayscale and the lawsuit.
When does he get in trouble with the Ripple lawsuit?
So I think you're going to see this, announced. It won't start trading then, right? That probably takes 6 to 8 weeks after that. But it's just more fuel for a fight.
All right. So Novogratz is not saying that so matter of fact, unless remember, he bets dimes to donuts, and he operates with information that the rest of us don't have. So he's not just saying that. Now this is interesting. For years we've talked about how XRP and XLM kind of move in tandem. David Schwartz actually addressed it a little bit here, what he thought about it. I think there's a variety of factors that might be in play, and it's hard to know which are real. One thing is that all digital assets track each other significantly. I think that's because the market is still trying to figure out if they're going to be a thing, and so the industry news affects all tokens. I believe this. Some have speculated that all tokens track Bitcoin because a huge fraction of the liquidity is in Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin's price moves, it moves the price of all other assets because there's not much drive to change the price with respect to Bitcoin. I'm not sure I believe this. As for why particular assets correlate more strongly, such as XRP, XLM, I think it could be at least partly because people think of them as requiring similar conditions to succeed or fail. But I'm not sure I really believe that. So interesting thought patterns there. Then we had another guy do another thread on XRP, and it's a scam, and the banks will never use it, and all of that stuff. And so I asked him, let's see if he's responded. I asked him simply, because he's obviously he's like, they will use USD or Bitcoin. And I said, hey, whatever his name is, can you do a thread on the 4 Satoshis who created Bitcoin that Homeland Security met with next? I can't find any Bitcoin maxis that want to go down that rabbit hole yet. And of course, he does not. He does not. Look, folks, there's been a lot of Bitcoin maxis see this video, and let's actually look. It doesn't show how many people have viewed this video, but it's hundreds of thousands. We've never had one single Bitcoin maxi address this video because they can't, folks. This is the elephant / atom bomb in the room. They cannot address this because the truth is right there for you to see. This thing was most likely born at a minimum. This thing has been a government partnership with whoever created it. At a minimum. We know it's got to be a government partnership because the government has intentionally lied to you and said and pretended that they don't know who Satoshi is. I mean, if that doesn't tell you something, I don't know what does. Now we've got Elizabeth Warren. She's sending letters to the Blockchain Association and wants to know information about the employees they've been hiring, basically saying that they've got, it's like ex-military and government officials that the Blockchain Association is hiring, and she's got a problem with that. And then Kristen Smith, who runs the Blockchain Association. Tonight I received a letter from Senator Warren criticizing a recent letter to Congress co-signed by dozens of former U.S. military intelligence officers and national security professionals. In short, Senator Warren's letter questions former military and law enforcement participation in our industry and their involvement in the November 15th letter to undermine her efforts to drive American crypto companies offshore through unworkable and misguided legislation. And then it goes on, and she says down here that, let's see, I think she says last month we invited Senator Warren to our annual policy summit in D.C., just 1 mile from her office, with a genuine invitation to speak with our industry directly. We were hopeful that she would join us, but she didn't. See, these people are cowards, folks. They hide behind their titles and their offices. They don't want to actually talk to people, because if you actually talk to people, then it would strip out the politics would get stripped out right quick when you're actually having real conversations. It increasingly seems as though the strategy of the crypto opponents in DC is to no longer to win on the merits of an argument, but to attack the credibility of the messenger. Senator Warren took this approach last night. She wrote letters to Coinbase, Blockchain Association, and Coin Center. So anyway, that's what she's up to. Now, Ashley Prosper's making a very good point. I played this in my last, I'm not going to play it here, I played it inside of my group. Says, what happened 90 days before this conversation? Joseph Lubin, and why so worried about leaving a trail? I smell financial crimes. Why is nobody looking into this, folks? Why is Senator Warren, she has no interest in Ethereum. Remember, JP Morgan was working with the guys at Ethereum before the public mainnet launch. That's her partner now. They want to look anywhere except for ETHgate. Anywhere except for ETHgate. There's two things I've never heard anybody in crypto besides the XRP army comment on at all. One is the video I showed you earlier in this video. The fact that Homeland Security met with 4 Satoshis. It's not just that. Not only did they meet with the 4 Satoshis, but they told the story of meeting with the 4 Satoshis in front of 2 or 3 SEC officials. And this was back in 2019 that they told the story, which means that the SEC knows who the 4 Satoshis are. You think they sat in that room with Homeland Security and were not aware of that? Or didn't, here they are trying to determine whether Bitcoin's a commodity, and they hear somebody get up on stage from Homeland Security and say, oh yeah, we met with the 4 Satoshis, and that's not relevant to the SEC's job as to whether to declare it a commodity or not? Come on. They know, the government knows, they all know. There's one other video that nobody seems to want to talk about ever, and that is Joseph Lubin's disguised whales. Nobody will talk about it, because those disguised whales, well, one place they lead is that country that starts with a C. Okay, so now I want to remind everybody at 3 o'clock today, Stephen Narioff is going to talk to John Deaton on a live stream on crypto law. Go there. I'll be watching myself. They're going to be talking about that Joseph Lubin recording that he has and all of these other issues. Could get interesting. Now, in DAIXRP.com, we're going to be talking about, there's a 3rd January date. We'll call it maybe the January trifecta. This one's bigger than the other two. You think Bitcoin getting an ETF's big? Wait till you hear this one. This is the 3rd of the 3 January things that are going to be happening in January. Okay? We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about, you and I both know, you know in your gut, and that's it, by the way, that's at DAIXRP.com. You know it in your gut just as well as I do. The last 3 to 5 years, something's going on. You know it, I know it. Doesn't feel right. It feels like we're being manipulated at every turn. Like Elon Musk said, it feels like we ought to be having a PSYOP of the Month award. It feels like we're living through multiple PSYOPs, and I think we are. I think we're being propagandized and worse. I'm going to talk about that. Who are the puppet masters? We're going to talk about that in the group. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family that away we go. DAIXRP.com.